The rain fell in steady sheets, turning the sidewalks into rivers and the air into a gray, heavy mist. Inside a small-town bakery, the warm glow of the ovens painted everything gold, the smell of fresh bread and sugar thick in the air. Behind the counter, Mrs. Hayes, the baker, was wiping down the display case when she heard a soft, shaky voice from the doorway. Excuse me," the girl said, barely more than a whisper. She couldn't have been older than 16, her clothes soaked through, hair matted from the rain. She clutched the strap of a torn backpack like it was the only thing she had left in the world. Do you have any expired cake?" Mrs. Hayes froze, her hand tightening on the rag. "Expired cake?" The girl nodded quickly. "I don't mind if it's old. Or if it fell. Just something sweet. Please." Her voice broke on that last word. At the corner table, a man in a leather vest looked up from his coffee. His eyes, sharp, tired, the kind that had seen too much of the world, watched the girl quietly. The patch on his back read Hell's Angels, Redwood Chapter. Mrs. Hayes frowned softly, her heart aching. "Honey, I can make you something fresh. You don't need to eat expired." But the girl shook her head fast. "No, please. I don't want charity. Just something you'd throw away." The woman behind the counter bit her lip, not sure what to say. The rain hit harder against the windows, the sound filling the silence between them. Then the biker stood up. His boots thudded against the tile as he walked over, pulling a few bills from his jacket pocket. He didn't say a word at first, just laid the money on the counter. Then he looked at the girl. "Pick anything you want." She blinked, startled. "I can't. I don't want to take your money." He tilted his head slightly. "You're not. You're letting me do something decent for once." The girl hesitated. There was something about his tone, quiet, rough, but honest, like a man who'd made mistakes but never lost his heart. She looked at Mrs. Hayes, who nodded gently. Minutes later, the girl sat at a small table near the window, a slice of chocolate cake in front of her, the kind with thick frosting and little curls of shaved chocolate on top. She ate slowly at first, like someone afraid the food might vanish if she moved too fast. The biker sat across from her, not eating, not talking, just watching to make sure she didn't disappear too. After a few bites, she looked up. "Why are you being nice to me?" He leaned back, arms crossed. "Because once, someone was nice to me when I didn't deserve it. Guess I owe the world a payback." She smiled faintly, her eyes red but soft. "Most people just stare. Or pretend I'm not there." He shrugged. "That's because most people forget they could be you if life went a little differently." Outside, the rain started to ease, sunlight slipping through the clouds. She finished her cake, wiped her mouth with a napkin, and whispered, "Thank you." He nodded, then said something that made her pause. "You got anywhere to go tonight?" She looked down. "Not really." The biker stared at her for a long second, then sighed, standing up. "All right, kid. Finish your cake. You're not sleeping on the street tonight." The girl froze, her fork clinking against the plate. What do you mean?" she asked, eyes wide. The biker slipped his gloves back on, his tone calm but steady. "I mean you're not spending another night in the cold. Not while I've got an empty garage and a roof that doesn't leak." Her lips parted in disbelief. "You don't even know me." He nodded once. "Don't need to. I've seen that look before." He gestured toward her soaked clothes. "You're hungry, tired, and out of luck. I used to be the same. Just older, meaner, and with a worse beard." She almost smiled, but her hands trembled. "You're serious?" He sighed, a soft laugh rumbling in his chest. "Kid, I don't say things I don't mean. You finish your cake, then you're coming with me. Mrs. Hayes, you mind packing up the rest of that cake to go?" The baker nodded quickly, already boxing another slice. "Of course, honey." She looked at the girl and smiled. "You're safe with him. He looks rough, but he's one of the good ones." The girl blinked away tears. "You all keep saying that. How do you know?" The woman smiled sadly. "Because men like him don't talk big, they show it." When they stepped outside, the rain had stopped completely. The air smelled like wet earth and exhaust. The biker handed her his spare helmet. "You ever been on a motorcycle?" She shook her head nervously. "No." He grinned faintly. "Then hold on tight. You're about to see the world from a better seat." She hesitated before climbing on, the leather cold beneath her palms. When the engine roared to life, her heart jumped, not just from fear, but from something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. They rode through the quiet streets, the wind whipping her hair dry. the sunset painting everything in orange and gold. For the first time in months, she wasn't invisible. After a few miles, they stopped at a small auto shop on the edge of town. A wooden sign read Redwood Customs. A few bikes were parked out front, chrome glinting in the fading light. "Welcome home," he said simply, swinging off the bike. She blinked. "Home?" He nodded toward the side door. "Got a small room out back. Used to be storage. Clean sheets, working heater. You'll stay there till we figure something better out." Her throat tightened. "Why are you doing this?" He looked at her for a long moment, eyes softer than his voice. "Because someone once pulled me out of the gutter and told me I mattered. I never believed him, not till years later. Maybe if I help you now, you'll believe it sooner." She pressed her hand to her mouth, trying not to cry. "I don't even know your name." He smiled faintly. "Call me Diesel. Everyone does." She nodded slowly. "Thank you, Diesel." He tilted his head. "Don't thank me yet. You're part of this crew now. That means you help out at the shop, eat real food, and stop calling yourself worthless. Got it?" She laughed through her tears. "Yes, sir." He chuckled. "Good. Now go inside and get dry. Breakfast's at 8 sharp. Don't make me come banging on that door." For the first time in forever, she smiled wide. Real, bright, alive. As she stepped inside the warm glow of the garage, Diesel looked up at the sky, letting the cool air hit his face. Sometimes, saving someone didn't mean fixing their life. Sometimes, it just meant reminding them it wasn't over yet. The next morning came with the sound of tools clinking and engines humming in the distance. Sunlight slipped through the cracks of the garage window, warming the little cot where the girl, Ellie, had finally slept through the night for the first time in months. She blinked awake, disoriented at first, until she smelled something she hadn't in ages: bacon and coffee. She sat up, the soft blanket falling from her shoulders, and followed the smell into the shop. Diesel was there, sleeves rolled up, grease on his forearms, frying eggs on a small portable stove near the open garage door. Two other bikers were leaning against their bikes, laughing quietly, the morning light gleaming off the chrome. When Diesel noticed her, he smirked. "Mornin', kid. You sleep like a rock, or what?" She rubbed her eyes. "Ah, yeah? I can't remember the last time I woke up warm." One of the other bikers chuckled. "That's 'cause you're hangin' with the Reapers now. We don't let anyone freeze." Diesel handed her a plate. "Eat. No arguments." Ellie hesitated for a moment, then sat down on a stool and took a bite. The food was simple: eggs, toast, bacon, but to her, it tasted like heaven. "This is really good," she mumbled, cheeks flushing. Diesel shrugged. "You learn a few things when you live on the road. How to fix a carburetor, how to cook with one pan, and how to spot a good soul before the world breaks it." She paused, fork midair. "You think I'm a good soul?" He gave a small smile. "I know you are. You just forgot for a while." She looked down, her voice soft. "People don't usually say stuff like that to me." "Then you've been talking to the wrong people." The other bikers nodded in agreement, one tossing her a small paper bag. "That's for you," he said. Inside were new clothes, a hoodie, jeans, and a pair of gloves that looked barely worn. "We grabbed him this morning," Diesel said. "You can't go around looking like you just survived a hurricane." Tears welled in her eyes. "Why are you all being so nice?" Diesel wiped his hands on a rag, looking out at the road. "Because the world kicked you hard enough. Tummy gets kicked back." After breakfast, Ellie stayed near the shop, helping where she could, handing tools, sweeping floors, learning how to wipe down the chrome properly. Every so often, she'd glance at Diesel, who never said much, but always kept an eye on her, like a quiet guardian who'd seen too many kids fall through cracks he refused to ignore anymore. As the sun began to set, she sat outside on the curb, watching the orange sky melt into purple. Diesel joined her, lighting a cigarette. They sat in silence for a while before she spoke. "You think I'll ever get my life back?" she asked softly. He exhaled smoke, the wind carrying it away. "Nah," he said finally. "You'll make a new one. Better one. That's the trick." She smiled faintly. "You really think so?" He looked at her and nodded once. "Yeah, and I'll make damn sure of it." A week passed, and the little bakery where it all began soon became a familiar stop again. Only this time, Ellie wasn't the girl standing in the doorway asking for scraps. She was standing behind the counter, apron tied neatly, wiping down the glass case with a soft smile. Mrs. Hayes had offered her a job the moment Diesel brought her by again. "She's family now," Diesel had said simply. his arm resting on the counter. You got room for one more? Now, as the morning rush began, Ellie greeted each customer with a confidence she hadn't felt in years. The hollow look in her eyes was gone, replaced with light. When Diesel walked in through the door, boots thudding softly against the tile, she grinned from ear to ear. "You're late," she teased. He chuckled. "Couldn't get the boys moving. They ride slower after breakfast." Mrs. Hayes came out from the kitchen, holding a tray of muffins. "Your friends cleaned me out last time," she said, laughing. "Never seen so many bikers order cinnamon rolls." Diesel smirked. "Guess word travels fast when there's good coffee and better people." Ellie shook her head. "You mean when they're scared of your glare if they don't show up?" He laughed, the deep kind that made his chest shake. "Fair enough." He leaned against the counter, pulling something small from his vest, a silver chain with a tiny angel wing charm. "Got you something?" he said, handing it to her. She blinked, surprised. "What's this for?" "For not giving up," he said simply. "For proving to yourself that you're tougher than you thought." Her lip trembled as she looked at the charm. "You didn't have to." He cut her off gently. "Yeah, I did. The world needs reminders that good things can come out of bad places. You're one of them." She smiled through tears. "You changed my life, Diesel." He shook his head. "Nah, kid. You changed your own. I just gave you a warm meal and a push in the right direction." The sound of engines rumbled faintly outside, the familiar growl of his crew pulling up out front. Diesel put his gloves back on, ready to leave. "You ever need us," he said, nodding toward the road. "You know how to reach the angels." Ellie nodded, clutching the necklace tight. "Be careful out there." He smiled softly. "Always am." As he stepped outside, the sunlight caught the chrome of the motorcycles, lighting them up like fire. The engines roared, but this time, it didn't sound like thunder. It sounded like a promise. Ellie stood by the window, watching until the dust settled. Then she looked down at the necklace again, her reflection shining faintly in the glass. She whispered to herself, voice steady now, "Maybe angels really do ride." If this story touched your heart, share it. Somewhere out there, someone's fighting to survive one more day. All they need is one act of kindness to remind them they still matter. Because sometimes, miracles don't fall from the sky. They pull up on two wheels.